Hi everyone. Chapter 12 for our sports marketing class is discussing the role of social media in sport. And it's important to discuss because the rapid growth of social media has really delivered a sort of bounty of fans and followers to sport properties. And people will proudly declare their fan allegiance and basically ask their favorite teams to communicate directly with them. And so this type of development where fans almost have a seemingly direct access to athletes and important people in sport, it represents a major shift in communication between teams and fans, even athletes, that may not be obvious to maybe a social native, so someone that's actually grown up with digital and social media, I'm sure as all of you have done. And something to consider before this mass adoption of things like Facebook, Twitter, teams worked very hard to build up email opt-in databases to enable what at the time was considered sort of this one-to-one interactive channel of communication. And teams actually employed multiple full-time market managers just to handle the email component side of the business, as well as to design ads or registration forms in kind of this grassroots effort to survey and catch the appropriate buy-in from fans. But then that all got scrubbed when creating personalized emails full of offers really didn't yield much efforts. And so, even though those efforts got the databases to be very large, think about how large a professional sports team has of a following on Facebook and now Twitter and Instagram and things of that nature. So it's been a bit of a transition. So the purpose of this chapter is actually to examine quite a few objectives. First, we're going to talk about the types of social media content as well as tactics that are commonly used in the sport marketing process. My hope is that you'll understand this necessity to integrate social media programming into the marketing communication mix and how to recognize how to generate followers and a return on interest from sport organization social media like Facebook. We're also going to discuss the role of traditional marketing concepts like reach, breadth, segmentation, and impressions as they actually apply to social media. Hopefully by the end of the chapter, you'll understand how to design sales campaigns and track results using social media techniques, or just understand how it's done. And then we're also going to take some opportunity to explore the role of sponsorship, as well as the types and limitations of sponsorship opportunities that become available to individuals through social media. It's been a while since the development of Facebook. Facebook is no longer in its infancy. In fact, if we talk about Facebook, a lot of people think that that's mostly for the older generations right now, and that the younger groups of individuals are using more up-to-date social media platforms. So we've kind of discussed the fact that social media has really changed the number of people that interact with fans and sports teams. The original email databases had anywhere from 100,000 to maybe 200 names in their databases. But think about accounts through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're talking about reaching millions of followers. So this rapid rate of growth really has created this direct communication and in bigger numbers than was ever thought before. So why is this valuable? Why is it valuable in sport itself? And although it has yet to prove equal to email as a direct marketing channel, social media is very valuable for different reasons. First, it builds an audience of fans to interact with in real time, in vivo. It also engages fans in ways that they want to be engaged. Fans get more access, more real-time information, more breaking news, maybe special offers. Sports properties and athletes can also drive more consumption of brand content through these social media outlets. So ultimately, what it can do is create more lifetime fans. Also, it's viral. Sports teams used to craft strategic plans and incentive to get people to forward an email to their friends, but now that's replaced by sharing or liking or maybe even posting a comment. Again, everything in real time. It also drives behavior that drives business, like tuning in, watching the television, ticket sales, game attendance, things of that nature. Sorry, I've clicked forward and I want to go backwards for a second. There we go. We're on the right slide now. Also think about how it drives behavior. Think about the fact that people not only want to interact with brands on social media, but they also want to buy brands on social media or buy from brands. So think about the following stats, and they're kind of impressive stats. More than 52% of Americans spend at least 1 hour per week on Facebook. I think that stat is probably pretty low. Of those under the age of 35, 56% interact with their favorite brand on Facebook. Another statistic for you. People liked a brand on Facebook because they're customers. 58% said that they did that, or 57% said they liked something because they want to receive discounts and promotions. And a final statistic for you. A majority of customers, about 56%, said that they are more likely to recommend a brand to a friend after becoming a fan on Facebook. So this is all kind of information that says that social sport marketing is an evolving discipline, and it touches so many aspects of sport business and really kind of requires a sophisticated approach. And so this chapter really kind of goes into the most effective techniques in social media management. And now we'll go forward to the slide that I wanted to. Okay, so let's talk about effective techniques in kind of appropriate management for social media regarding sports. Oh, sorry. The first concept is in regards to building an audience. And sports properties really attract many fans, and they're working hard to continue to acquire others. We remember that winning helps, but it's not the only way to build an audience. And getting out early on new platforms can help a property gain an advantage over the latecomers. So beyond being a popular and winning brand, organizations need to use tried and true direct and brand marketing techniques that build a maximum audience. So there's a couple ways that they do it. Through in-game and an in-event, which means that fans are naturally social during events, and they usually interact with fellow fans and commonly root for a similar or the same team. And so things that happen around the venue can help remind fans to like or to follow the property. Some teams have even become very aggressive in this manner. For example, the Boston Celtics were the first team in the NBA to place their Twitter handle on the playing court next to their web address, theceltics.com. So that was kind of revolutionary at the time. Another way to build an audience is to use sort of this in broadcast, which means there are various assets within the game broadcast to promote team initiatives. Specifically social media participation. So during the game, an example would be that a broadcast reads some sort of enter to win contest and sweepstakes, and they have to get on their social media to have an opportunity to be the winner in that. In regards to a post game, just a simple press conference and analysis can be a great place to encourage conversation about a game or social media. And the also cool thing about building an audience through sort of broadcasting during the event is it kind of enables the event to live on. So a lot of sports events have captured a moment on the field with a massive 360-degree photo that enables fans who are at the event to tag themselves and let their friends on Facebook or maybe tweet about it, which means you're inviting a lot of people to see that event. And it becomes kind of this image that drives a lot of tagging, shares, and eventual email addresses that are also entered. Other ways to engage the fan are through online, direct, and digital marketing, through advertisements at the actual events, before and post, sharing optimized content, and also, and this makes sense based on our previous learning in other chapters, segmenting the audience. really understanding what is the area of social media that really targets the different segments of the audience that's present or participating as consumers of the event or the product itself. So moving on, for effective techniques for social media management is then discussing engaging the fans. Engaging the audience in social media requires a really artful balance. Viral audience growth is directly correlated with how engaged the existing audience is with the content. If fans and followers love what they read, what they see, what they watch, they're going to share it and they're not going to tune out. So a carefully calibrated approach focuses on authenticity of voice, listening, learning, optimizing, as well as delivering the information itself. Next is driving behavior. And it probably would be a good thing to show you the slides that go along with the narration. I apologize. Let's get everyone caught up. Okay, talking about driving behavior. Effective social media marketing really needs to encourage followers to engage in behaviors that are aligned with the strategic objectives or the organization. So obviously the organization wants customers to buy tickets. They want increased television ratings. They want them to come to the events, whether it's the tailgating event or maybe the post-after party after the game. Or even using or engaging with the sponsors of the particular event. And a good example of driving behavior is the build-up leading to the 2011 Rugby World Cup in New Zealand. And your textbook does a really nice job of presenting that information to you. So take some time at this point to go ahead and pause your video and read the successes that the marketing team accomplished through utilizing social media platforms to drive behavior. And so this is something, these are actually some of the platforms that the marketing team utilized to build and generate interest for the event of the Rugby World Cup. So a legitimate question for organizations who want to utilize social media is, which platforms do we need to be on, and how many do we need to be on? If you look in your textbook, you can see figure 12.1, which shows a multitude of social media platforms and their related companies. A lot of times organizations want to know which one should we use and which one's going to reach our target audiences. So they also want to understand, how do we balance content, how do we focus information across these platforms, which pieces of information for our organization takes priority, which platform should take priority. And so most teams' efforts focus where the greatest number of active people are. Usually it's Facebook and Twitter, but it also includes Google+, Instagram is growing, Foursquare, Tumblr, Pinterest, SocialCam are just a few platforms that are present out there. So your book kind of goes into the details behind Facebook specifically. It talks a little bit about Google+. Take your time if you want to read that information. Actually, I definitely recommend it in case some of that information shows up on your quizzes. But whether or not teams use social media, managing multiple platforms really does require a balance of content as well as a strong understanding of the distinct qualities of each of the platform's followers. And I think that's kind of the take-home message for these particular platforms. And I'm sure as soon as you saw this slide change and looked at the different media platforms, you were already identifying which ones, number one, that you used and which ones weren't appropriate for you, maybe based on your age, or you maybe had some sort of preconceived notion that only older people use Facebook, but if you were of a younger generation, probably use other sources. So that's why it's important to know the platforms in order to be able to utilize them appropriately. And to ensure consistency of content, usually PR individuals will have some sort of daily content meetings. And so in those meetings, then everybody's kind of responsible for publishing content across the platforms and to develop common narratives. Ideas for unique content for individual platforms can also be vetted and also improved in this type of meeting. And then those that are responsible for publishing the information apply the right voice and the right timing to make sure that it's promoting the most engagement according to its platform. So we know that social media has its definite positives, but we also know that if it's not managed carefully, we're going to have some pitfalls. We're going to have some issues with certain things. So how does an organization keep track of all people with access to their accounts? How do they avoid being hacked? Should they let people comment on everything on Facebook and say whatever they want? Misuse of social media by individuals has on many occasions led to suspensions or even firings. For example, if any of you guys remember the actor Gilbert Gottfried, he was popular in the 80s, maybe a little bit in the early 90s. He was fired from Aflac because he tweeted jokes about the Japanese tsunami of 2011. Roland Martin was suspended by CNN for homophobic tweets about a 2012 Super Bowl ad, and I'm sure the list goes on and on. So to avoid major social media pitfalls, sport properties, athletes, and celebrities really need to be aware and heed some basic guidelines. The first one is to manage access to accounts. Usually more than one person has access to post across social networks from the official handle representing the team, the league, or the person. So follow the advice in the sidebar in regards to avoiding social media pitfalls. There's some simple tips that are provided from the NBA. Go ahead and read that when you reach the end of this lecture. Another basic guideline would be to keep personal and official accounts separate. A lot of social media tools enable toggling between multiple accounts, and there's been many mistakes that's occurred when a staffer believed that they were posting from a personal account, but it was actually an official one. An example is Microsoft's Twitter account appeared to be the insult of Ann Coulter. Robert Reich, who was a former Clinton administrative secretary of Labor and a current professor of public policy at UC Berkeley, tweeted to New York to visit my 4-year-old granddaughter. Also on ABC's This Week panel with Ann Coulter, among others, I'd rather be with my granddaughter. That was his post. And then there was a little bit of a back and forth, and then Microsoft ended up deleting the tweet and said that it was an accident, according to someone that was managing it. So it can get interesting. There's another really fun, I think it's kind of funny, but it probably wasn't so funny for the American Red Cross. There was an accidental tweet that went out on the Red Cross's official Twitter account when the individual that worked for the Red Cross thought she was texting or tweeting on her personal account. If you want to read about it, it's on figure 12.2. Another guideline of social media is reserve the right to delete, but do it carefully. Content or status updates that have already been published can be deleted easily, but usually not before someone else has seen it or probably even taken some sort of screenshot and maybe republished it somewhere else. So making a mistake is embarrassing, but sometimes being caught trying to hide it can even be more damaging. A lot of athletes have deleted tweets that they realized were inappropriate, but not before other people got a hold of it and continue to reproduce that image of the tweet. And also, guidelines regarding handling your media appropriately is to own up to your mistakes. A lot of times, an organization that owns up to a mistake can say a lot about that company or that product, and sometimes can help you maintain a fan base, maybe even build it because of your honesty. The final way your chapter discusses handling social media is in regards to leveraging players as well as talent. Social media offers fans a really incredible opportunity, almost as never before, to hear directly from players and from talent. Fans really don't have to wait for official interviews that are posted on television or press conferences or even blog posts anymore. Some players even have more followers on social media than teams that they play for. And this circumstance can be a blessing and a curse for sports teams. But if players are engaged with the team's broader priorities, they don't embarrass themselves or their team on social media, then they can really become a tremendous asset in furthering the brand's following. For example, elite gymnast Gabby Douglas during the 2012 Summer Olympic Games became the all-around gold medalist and added almost 500,000 Facebook fans and garnered over 600,000 Twitter followers. Michael Phelps actually went up there too and added over 1 million Twitter followers during those games. Another example is the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. They believe so strongly in athlete social participation that they actually have a bonus structure that awards fighters for the most active and effective fighters on social media. So it can be an opportunity for direct communication, but it should be something that's leveraged, that can be leveraged appropriately, if it's handled appropriately by the athlete and those that participate on their team. So social media is really well on its way to becoming an integral part of sports marketing because it really can influence all aspects of the business. The sport properties that understand and harness this power correctly will have a competitive edge over those companies that don't. Likewise, people who possess the skills that can help sports properties achieve social media fluency are in very high demand, and their challenge will be to translate this fluency into business results. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our lecture for Chapter 12 regarding social media.